What is up, Hardcore Nation? It's Hardcore Christopher here, coming at you with a video game review. Uh, Yesterday I completed Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, and I'm gonna give you my likes, my dislikes, and finally my final opinion of the game. So, first off, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is an RPG style Dragon Ball Z game, which I will admit I never use. I I didn't really use any of the RPG elements. I just basically ran straight through and tried my hardest. And even though I would play it fast and loose sometimes, and even though I would lose, I would always ignore the RPG element. You have certain skill trees which at the tail, well, not even at the tail end, at the very end, once I beat the Boo Saga, I upgraded the skill trees for both Vegeta and Goku because I was trying to get past the side story with Gotenks, and it didn't go so well. And for those of you wondering, I the story wasn't. I was curious on how far they were going to go with the story. I was wondering if they were going to include Super, but then I got to think, and I think that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot came out before Super, so you just have your standard Saiyan to Buu saga. And this is where my first like comes in. The Unity engine. Well, wait, not the Unity, but I think it was the Unreal Engine. It makes the game look absolutely gorgeous. Through the Kamehameha, the Special Beam Cannon, the Maseko, the super attacks look absolutely gorgeous. The environments look absolutely stunning. This game is just a beautiful game. And I enjoyed the visuals. Now, even though the visuals are good and all, let's talk about the transformations. Transformations are both good and bad. I'll do the good portion first. This is where my second appreciation for the game comes in, and believe it or not, it has to do with the transformations. The transformations in this game don't take too long. They remind me of Dragon Ball Z Budokai for the Nintendo GameCube and PlayStation 2, where all you had to do is press both of the rear buttons. For the Nintendo GameCube, it was L and R, so the L and R buttons at the same time, and you transform into a Super Saiyan or Kaioken. The transformations do have upsides, like whenever I unlocked Super Saiyan 3, which was at the basically tail end of the game, because Goku only had Super Saiyan 3 up until, well, he had Super Saiyan 3 only in the Buu saga. So I went Super Saiyan 3 because it gave me speed bonus, it gave me attack bonus, it basically boosted all my stats, which I thoroughly enjoyed. There is a high tension, which makes all your attacks do more damage than what they usually would, and the high tension meter fills up when you are attacked or when you're attacking. So you only have a certain amount of time. You also have a stun meter, which means that once you get once the stun meter goes down all the way, the opponent is in a break state, which means they can't do jack all, so you can just wail on them to your heart's content. But be wary, because once the stun bar replenishes, and it replenishes pretty quickly, your opponent will be up and running again. Now, for the third thing I liked, the voice acting. The voice acting, for the most part, was very, very good. I liked Chris Sabat, Sean Schimmel, Mr. Satan's voice actor. All the voice acting was stellar, so I'm glad to see that. Well, like I said, for the most part. Fourth, and man, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but I liked the final battle with Kid Buu, because I was wondering if it was really going to be the end, and then I heard the theme song kick in, and I'm like, yeah, this is the end. So I liked that they had the theme song. It was the whole charula, echala, yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed that, because it told me that the game was not continuing, but it had reached its apex. And now for my fifth like. I like all the different communities, and what I mean by that is you have a God community, which is like for Kami. You have cooking, which is for anybody that cooks for you, because when you eat a meal, whether it be just a little meal or a full course meal, it replenishes. It'll give you stat boosts, which I really never did. And it will also I think yeah, the little meals, they up they boost your stats for a limited amount of time, usually 30 seconds. And a full course meal, you eat it and you end up with, let's say you're close to death, your key and everything will refill. I will admit I did not take advantage of that feature as much when the story just says you're eating. Yeah, that's the only time that it really came up. The sixth thing I like the abundance of characters in this game. I'm not just talking your typical Dragon Ball Z cast like Piccolo, Roshi, Tien, Chaozu, Vegeta, Nappa, Raditz, Cell, Trunks. They went as far, and kudos to them, because they went as far as to bring in Dragon Ball characters such as 8. Such as 8er, which is Android 8, such as Sona, and trying to think. Launch I was surprised about because she was literally forgotten about. That's why we never saw her in the rest of Dragon Ball. But here she does make several appearances, and so does 8. Trying to think. I know there's more Dragon Ball characters. Oh, Emperor Pilaf, Mercenary Tao, and Shin. Though those characters brought a lot of nostalgia for me. Sorry, I just cannot seem to talk. Overall, I enjoyed my experience. But now let's get to my dislikes. And I'm going to start off with something that I noticed, not right offhand, but I noticed it during basically the tail end of the Saiyan saga. While this game is good, I would have just loved it to stick to the original Dragon Ball Z story. And what I mean by that is it does stick to the plot Saiyan through. So you go Saiyan. Sorry about that. Namek, Frieza, Android Cell, and finally the Majin Buu saga. The story was changed quite a bit. Like, Nappa. Kills Piccolo. Then Kami tells Popo that there are another set of Dragon Balls on Namek and to use them to revive everyone. That's not what happened in Kakarot. What happened in Kakarot is Krillin knows this out of nowhere. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. But that's really just a nitpick. Another complaint I have. the next thing I didn't like was this game. I bought it a couple months back off the Microsoft Store, and I didn't think it'd take that long to beat. But this game is just far too long. I had to take multiple breaks from it, play a different game, because I got burned out on it. So let me give you an example. Okay, I looked at one of the sagas, and it had like eight different steps just to get to, I think it was the Frieza saga. It had like eight different things you had to do to get to the apex of the chapter, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot. Another thing, so I think I clocked in about maybe a couple of hours worth of game time. So this game is incredibly long. Another thing that I have to complain about, and this is a little thing in the grand scheme of things, but searching for the Dragon Balls. Searching for the Dragon Balls may sound easy in theory, but for whatever reason, all right, they can be easy and they can be difficult. For example, one of the in-game side stories was you had to find the Dragon Balls, summon Shenron, and wish for Ginyu to be brought back in his previous body so Vegeta could train off of him, which means beat the teetotal crap out of him. I had this one Dragon Ball. I went to the islands where Kami House was, and I looked at the radar. The radar said that the Dragon Balls, the ball I was looking for, was underwater, and it was on a ship. I looked up and down that ship, and you want to know where it was? It was in the chimney thing of the ship, and I'm like, that was hard to find for no reason. Another thing about it is one once your wishes are granted, which you have a maximum of 3, not to begin with. You have a maximum of 1 wish, then 2 wishes, then 3 wishes. I did every wish in the game besides the in-game wishes, and that's just because it was all side stories, and they were hard side stories at that. And I had enough of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. In fact, I don't even have it downloaded into my Xbox One storage anymore. I would have to re-download it. And that's another thing. This game takes up so much space. And I understand why, don't get me wrong, I understand why it takes up so much space. But it's like, it was one of the biggest games that I had, and I only have about 4 to 5 physical games for the Xbox One, and I'm like, that takes up a lot of space. But I had enough space, and so I bought it and I downloaded it. And I played it to my heart's content. Another complaint I have, the lock-on system. Alright. So, this is something that I forgot to mention in my likes, and there's also another thing that I forgot to mention in my likes, is you have a lock-on system in this game. It's a hard lock-on system, which, well, it's an automatic lock-on. And that automatic lock-on is good. But it seems like it's only good in one-on-one situations, because there will be times in the game where you have 3 to, I think I had a maximum of like 5 opponents. And I'm like, okay, this lock-on system is good, but it could be better. Because the lock-on system only works. It only works by focusing on one enemy at a time. Like during the final battle with Kid Buu, I tried to go. There's a part in the fight where Kid Buu makes copies of himself, and I tried to ignore the copies of Kid Buu, but after a while I realized that Kid Buu had over, I think he had, yeah, I was on his 5th health bar, because he had a maximum of 6. And after I realized that trying to ignore the Boos was a bad idea, I started to focus on them, and I realized that the copies had nowhere near the health of Kid Buu, so I ended up just taking the copies of Kid Buu out, then focusing on Kid Buu himself. So the lock-on system, in my opinion, is good in one-on-one situations, but when you have multiple opponents, it's not good, because the camera constantly is focusing on the opponent. And yes, you can shift between targets, but if they're if they're charging up for their ultimate attack, which they will do, you just might as well just call it. Another complaint that I have is the sub-stories. Now, there are a lot of sub-stories. And I completed basically every single sub-story besides the end game. And I can say this, that the sub-stories were fun at first, but they ended up getting tedious because they're either fetch quests, they're either fetch quests, searching for one particular item, or they're stop this person from teasing this from like flirting with this person. Here's the problem with that sort of thing. While there is variety in the sub stories themselves, they're all the same. Let's see. Oh, another thing that I liked and didn't like at the same time. The party. Being that this is an RPG, you have a party. Now, some characters like Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Chaozu, they are support characters only, which means you can't play as them. There were some instances where I would have a party and the party would be involved in the fight. Then there would be another then there would be other instances where I would have the party and the party would just disappear out of the fight, and I'm like, I had two people with me. Where are they? Trying to think of anything else. Oh, I said the voice acting was good to a point. We have reached that point. The voice acting for Gohan, especially Kid Gohan, it got very annoying. Now, adult Gohan, I could stand. I could tolerate. I even liked it. The one thing I couldn't stand was Gohan's voice. Well, Kid Gohan's voice. And that's because it's not his voice. I'm sorry, people are going to debate with me all day long, but it's not Kid Gohan's voice. Is there another thing that I... Okay. I think that's all the complaining. I think that's all the complaints I have. Um. So my final thoughts are: I did enjoy myself. I also got burned out on the game. Would I go back to this? I I don't think so. This has been my Dragon Ball Z Kakarot game review. I hope you all enjoyed. If you would like to be a member of our community, hit the subscribe button down below. Then make sure you ring the bell and click all for every time I upload a video. If you don't, it's okay. I still respect you. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that you chose to spend a little bit of your time here with me. I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.